I'd like to bring in MarketGates Group Managing Director Mish Schneider, along with Simpler Trading Director of Options Danielle Shea. First, your thoughts, ladies, on these short squeezes. And after that, maybe share some potential short squeezes of your own. Let me start with you, Michelle.
Well, I think that when there's a lot of money around, you're going to see this type of action in the short squeezes. But buying something because you're hoping that there's going to be a short squeeze is not really the best strategy. We were lucky because we had DDD and GoGo, two examples, that were part of this participation of short squeezes. But we bought them on the basis of the fact that we felt the trends were good, airlines will open up, 3D printing will continue to explode, and we bought them because we had a good risk. The fact that we were able to see these explosive moves up and take some profit along the way has been fantastic. So if you want to do that on a day-to-day basis, have some strategy. We like to use a 2-minute or a 5-minute opening range, which means watch it for 2 minutes. If it breaks out of that 2-minute range on a gap, get in, have your stop right under, and let it fly and take your profits all the way. Same thing with a 5-minute, a little bit longer time frame, but also same kind of thing.
That might be a little bit more complicated for the general audience here. Now, one thing we do know, Danielle, if you buy a stock as a professional or even a novice, even if you love the underlying fundamental story, you take a look at the shorts, and if you see there's a double-digit short position there, you know in the back of your mind there could possibly be a squeeze. I mean, if you're going to be right, that means there's going to be a short squeeze. So you may not buy it for the short squeeze, but you know somewhere along the line, if you're right, if your premise is right that it's an undervalued stock and it goes up, the shorts are going to have to cover. So with that in mind, what do you make of what we're seeing today? By the way, it's not just GameStop. It's a litany of names that are up significantly, just like Friday when stocks that normally trade 7 million shares are trading 130 million shares.
Well, Charles, for me personally, I always look for short squeezes when the market's at a new all-time high, because that's really the spot where the short sellers are going to be finding some pain. So, I mean, for me, what I'm looking for is I want to see a stock that has, just like you said, 10% short float or higher, 20, 30% is a little bit better. And then I want to see it just within a stone's throw of new all-time highs. And then you have to have a catalyst. Maybe it's upcoming earnings report. Maybe it's the actual earnings report. But there has to be a reason for these short sellers to cover. And that's why I get in. And that's when eventually we'll see that short squeeze.
Right, case in point would be AMC today. I just learned, well, we know they raised almost $1 billion. That's amazing considering how precarious their business is. And then I read where over the last 3 months, their wanted signs, their job posted openings up 128%. I mean, that's a positive sign. I want to circle back to this whole thing with these individual investors who I think, unfortunately, get too much scorn from traditional Wall Street. I think they really value education. I know they do personally, particularly more and more as their accounts grow. It seems like they're reaching out saying, okay, now I can afford more professional help. Are you seeing anything like that, Michelle?
Absolutely, and it's very similar to how I got started. I was down on the Commodities Exchange at its heyday, which was decades ago. But you had a lot of people, everybody coming in, including people like your painter. People were volunteering to be on the floor because they wanted to make money. And eventually, you had people who completely blew out and got carried off. You got a whole bunch of people who kept their money, lost some, and decided, hey, it's time to get an education. And then you had people who made millions and walked away and went on to something else. And I see the same thing happening right now.
Let's talk about the resumption of the mega growth names, up significantly since last Monday. Danielle, a lot of them report this week. That's where the large investors find their comfort. I mean, you can argue certainly that all of them are overvalued. You can find a metric, but still, that's where Wall Street is making its bets. How do you feel about it?
For me, I love the movement that we're seeing in the FANG stocks because these stocks, I mean, they have been in this consolidation on the weekly chart for the past couple months, and you've seen retail traders just absolutely running the game here. So for me, what I love is the fact that these stocks have finally broken out, which I would attribute to Netflix earnings. I saw the breakout after Netflix earnings. Yeah. I think that it's I think it's just demonstrating that, yes, Wall Street still has faith in these companies, and we're bullish going into their earnings reports. However, I will note that because they're up on, all-time highs, that after the reports come out, we will probably see a little bit of a pullback just after that, experience is over.
Sure. Sure. I mean, the conditions are ripe for selling on the news, but I would caution, I think, if you're a long-term investor, even shortest term, not to necessarily get spooked by that. Michelle, what are you doing with these mega cap names right now?
I have a little bit of a different perspective because I'm looking at potential, and I don't see that much potential. Maybe we can see Microsoft go up another $20, $40, or Amazon go up another $40. But take something like we've talked about, Teladoc. It's gone up $70 over the last couple of weeks, and it went up $20 just today. I'm really thinking that if you want to have your portfolio in the longer-term stocks, forget the big tech. Go to the new tech and let those things just play out.
Danielle, also, since the last time we spoke, have you made any sort of changes? Because you pointed out something great here. I think Netflix also changed the game last week, the narrative. A lot of money went back into those comfort areas. Energy's given a lot of it back. Have you made any adjustments since the last time you were on that we should know about?
I mean, the primary things that I'm trading right now really have high short interest, and there are these solar and EV names, Charles. I mean, we talked about a couple of them. We talked about GRWG. She just mentioned Teladoc. That one's in a short squeeze right now. So primarily what I'm doing is I'm focusing on a lot of these names that aren't necessarily the large cap names, because we've seen just a huge rally in them because of the incoming administration and because they have high short interest. So I'm always going to be long Microsoft, but if you look at something like Blink, that has the potential to take off like Chewy or Peloton did last year. So I'm trying to focus on some of those new names.
It's hard not to be excited about charging stations when everyone's going to end up having an electric vehicle over the next 3 to 5 years. Ladies, great stuff. Appreciate your expertise always. Michelle, Danielle, we'll talk to you again real soon.